My stepfather, Greg Pelton, takes me to his private cinema to watch an adult movie. Apparently, that's the coming-of-age gift he has prepared for me. As I watch the man and the woman tangling with each other in the movie, I feel itchy all over my body. I can't resist squeezing my damp thighs together while trying very hard to endure the jolts of electricity tingling my skin. Upon noticing my flushed cheeks, Greg stops between my legs and yanks off my panties immediately. Darling, let me teach you how to blossom into a real woman. Surely you'll be obedient, right? My name was Lola Jenner, and I'd lived with my mom, Daphne Fraser, and my stepdad, Greg Pelton, since young. Greg had always been good to me. He often bought tofu and other soy products for me, saying they were good for my health and development. I would also drink a glass of soy milk every day, and before long, my chest had grown noticeably huge and voluptuous. I could barely fit into the training bras and bralettes that girls my age usually wore. They could barely cover my chest and offered no support. It bothered me quite a lot, but Greg then bought me adult bras to wear, some even trimmed with lace. I really liked those bras, and so did Greg. Sometimes he would even secretly take the lacy bra back into his room and only resurface after an hour. I would then smell Greg's scent on it, and it always sent tingles down my spine. I never really understood what that meant. On my 18th birthday, Greg purposely took a day off work and told me that he had a special celebration planned. In the past, we would always celebrate my birthday with a simple dinner and a birthday cake at home. But this time, for some reason, Greg suddenly began working out a few weeks before my birthday. He'd also stopped abusing Mom at night for at least the past 2 weeks. Ever since I was little, I'd heard him abusing Mom in their room at night. Mom's screams would always echo loudly around the house. I was deathly afraid that I would suffer the same abuse as well, but for some reason, I didn't think that this particular type of abuse was that torturous after hearing Mom's screams. Greg was already dressed and put on his shoes, ready to go out and celebrate my birthday with me. I asked him curiously, "Is Mom not coming with us?" He pinched my cheek and said with a chuckle, "This birthday celebration is a secret between you and me. Of course, we can't tell anyone else about it." I loved our little secrets. I had never even told Mom that he'd been taking my bras on the regular. He brought me to the mall and ushered me into the stores selling crop tops and miniskirts. Mom had never allowed me to wear clothes like that, but Greg bought me a full outfit. "You should be dressed all pretty for your birthday celebration," he said. "Don't you think so?" The crop top was very short, exposing my belly button and barely covering my chest, making it look like 2 huge melons were hanging there. The miniskirt was also very short. If I bent down even slightly, I would accidentally expose myself. I had never worn such revealing clothes before, and the thought of so much of my skin exposed made me feel a little shy and awkward. Greg's gaze on me was clearly very fiery. I knew then that he liked seeing me in this getup. Maybe I really looked very pretty in these clothes after all, because he seemed so pleased. After we finished shopping, he took me to watch a movie. I thought that we would be going to the cinema in the mall, but to my surprise, he brought me to a private screening room instead. It was just like a hotel room, but with a massive screen on the wall. I took off my shoes and climbed onto the bed. My long legs were splayed on the sheets, and the soles of my feet slightly showed through the white stockings I was wearing. Greg lay down next to me and turned on the screen, putting on the movie. What surprised me even more was that the movie that began playing was a hardcore adult film. A naked man and woman were doing the deed. The woman wouldn't stop screaming loudly in the video, and she sounded a lot like how Mom sounded back at home. That was when it finally clicked. As it turned out, Mom and Greg had been doing the exact same thing as the man and woman on the screen right now. The woman in the video trembled hard as the man thrust into her repeatedly, and I could almost feel the unstoppable impact on my body through the screen. My face turned red immediately. I had never seen a movie like this before, and the wild, intense visual impact was attacking my senses all over. I felt my body heating up, especially in my lower abdomen. It felt slightly swollen there, and I could feel the electricity rushing to my head. "Greg, what's this?" I asked, my voice unsteady. "It's your 18th birthday today, Lola," he replied. "You're an adult now, and I'm going to have to teach you a few things so that no one can take advantage of you." So that was what it was. I was an adult now, and Greg was going to teach me these things, right? On the screen, the man began sucking the woman's buds, while he slid a hand down between her legs and began fondling her there. The woman was in so much pleasure that she couldn't stop trembling all over, moaning and crying out in bliss. My face flushed a deep red, and I could even feel a wetness between my legs. What exactly was this feeling? I stole a glance at Greg and saw that there was a tent in his pants, and it looked imposing. He noticed my gaze and immediately saw through my thoughts. He then sat next to me in the same position as the man on the screen and said, "You look like a mess, Lola. Do you feel anything yet?" It wasn't until he pointed it out that I realized I was shivering hard. My neck and limbs were flushed red, and I'd somehow subconsciously lifted my clothes. I looked just about as disheveled and flustered as the woman on the screen. I bit on my lower lip, not knowing what to say. Greg's voice turned gentle. "It's fine. It's just the 2 of us here. I'll give you whatever you want and make sure you're satisfied. This will be our little secret." He paused, then asked, "Now, tell me, what do you feel? What do you want?" My face was a deep crimson as my voice shook. "I feel weird. What do you want? I want to be treated like that woman too." "Good girl." Greg then popped off the buttons on my crop top, and my huge bosom immediately spilled out, jumping at him like 2 little bunnies. I felt incredibly embarrassed to be exposed to him like that. His mature, manly scent immediately saturated my senses, and I watched his hand slowly creep toward me, feeling nervous and excited. The thirst I felt in my body didn't allow me to think too much. My bones were weak like jelly, and I couldn't even muster any strength to do anything anymore. Instead, I let him grab my boobs as he stuck out his tongue and began licking and sucking my nubs. It tickled. "Ah, Greg, it tickles. What is this feeling, Greg? There, Lola, he murmured. This is called pleasure, and you're going to be feeling even more of it very soon. He then reached down with his other hand and slipped it under my skirt, rubbing his fingers repeatedly against the deep crease between my legs. At once, I felt like all the cells in my body were about to explode. How could it be so pleasurable for me? I'd never felt that way before. It made me feel so light that I felt like I was walking on clouds. No wonder Mom kept making such pleasurable sounds and screams every night. At that point, I felt myself wanting to let out lewd sounds and pants, but I felt too embarrassed to do it in front of Greg. I could only forcefully suppress the deep-seated itch to moan aloud as I strained hard to keep quiet. Yet the more I tensed up, the more intense the feeling became. My legs couldn't stop flailing in pleasure. I tried to clamp them down, but I ended up circling my legs around Greg's arm instead. The tighter I squeezed my legs around his arm, the harder he pressed his fingers into my crease. Wait, gently. I can't take it anymore. I finally couldn't hold it back any longer and let out a soft moan, accompanied by loud, heavy panting that even surprised me. Greg's expression lit up at once when he heard my moan. He bit down harder on my nub and even began rubbing his teeth around it. The movie on the screen was still playing, and I could also hear the man and woman panting and gasping. I felt as though every pore in my body had opened wide to greedily enjoy Greg sucking and biting me harshly yet lovingly on my nubs. His tongue was warm, wet, and slippery, and his hot breath fanned across my wet, sensitive skin. I felt as though my entire body was enveloped in his warmth. Was this what it felt like to be an adult? Teetering on the edge like I was about to fall into the pit of lust and desire? It felt both dangerous and thrilling at the same time. I pressed myself against him and panted into his ear. Greg, is this what it means to be an adult? He chuckled. Yes, Lola. You picked up very quickly. I'm sure that you'll grow up to be a lovely woman loved by all, but not yet. He then pinched my love button, which no one else had ever touched before, and I immediately gasped out loud. I trembled and spasmed hard with his movement.